This is the Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris ahead of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke.
All right, morning. How's business?
Doing all right.
Good. Great.
How significant has the construction affected things in the kicking game?
It's affected it. Yeah, it's affected it. We haven't had a lot of big wind, though. A little bit in Indy, but not much early in the season. It's pretty calm, but we'll see. Sounds like we could get some on Sunday.
Has it been different week to week depending on where things are with the construction?
No, I think it depends on where the wind's coming from.
What is Pilardi on the practice squad, the punter? What does he have going for him? I mean, as a punter, what does he do well?
It's been a good punter, good athlete. High school quarterback, kicked off, punted. It's good to have him here last week, with, getting ready for a hack.
Does he hold?
Yeah, high school quarterback. He's done it. Mm-hmm. And he's kicked, so it's a pretty athletic kid.
Bill, historically your team's usually pretty good coming off a bye. How important is it for you and your staff to get that extra work in for that week to make sure they're ready to go coming off of 2 weeks?
Yeah, hope we're better than we were last year. So just take it year by year.
I ask you about Raleigh Webb and when he first came on your radar and what you've seen in his transition to the New England.
He played against us. So he played. I think he was active twice, but one was against us, and matched up against obviously a couple of guys that we have. So after Cody got hurt, we thought that he would be able to give us some depth in that position in the kicking game. Obviously, he's an offensive player. Cody's a defensive player, but neither one of them have played that much in either of those spots. But in the kicking game, he gives us a little bit of a kind of depth for where we lost Cody. So he came on our radar more after we saw him. Watch him in preseason, then we prepared for him, then saw him in our game, then didn't really have a spot. But then when we had a spot, then things changed.
Bill, the schedule sometimes works out like this where you see a team, in this case the Jets, just a couple of weeks ago. Just wondering how much the first game influences the second. Do you just call upon that and remind your guys things, or is there a lot of new teaching to do about this team, given what you may have seen in the week between?
Yeah, I just think you start your preparations all over again. We put everything we had in the Colts game. That game's done, so start all over again. Get back to the keys and tendencies and things that the Jets do. Not forget about the Jets and then move on to the next team. So it's hard to play a team and remember all the things that you did a week or 2 weeks ago. I mean, yeah, there's some basic things that come back to you, but all the little details that you spend the whole week on, you kind of forget those and apply them to whatever those things are to the next team. Then when that's over, you forget those and move on. So it's obviously some things carry over. I'm not saying that, but but they don't carry over from team to team. I mean, it's new players, different matchups, different ways they utilize their people, and so forth. So it's new every week.
Bill, kind of going back to the special teams theme here, with some of the inconsistency that it looks like there's been with the punt game for you guys, is there anything you've been able to kind of put your finger on when it comes to Jake? Is it Jake the individual? Is it the operation there that's led to maybe some of the up and down nature of what we've seen there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good, and then it hasn't been consistent, so it's not like it's all bad. It's not like it's all good. It's just it's inconsistent, so. So I think there's a number of areas we can improve in, we'll try to improve in. But each person's got to do, obviously it starts with a specialist, but there's other things, that we need to improve in on the punt team, and kickoff coverage as well. Although I think he's kicked off fairly well this year.
Is there something that he and Joe specifically could do to be more consistent?
Joe Cardona.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's just like any technical thing, a golf swing or a punter or whatever. There's mechanics and the consistency and execution of it. Again, there's plenty of talent there, and there've been some, rainbows out there, like there always have been. So work hard to make it more consistent.
Bill, another special teams one for you. You were describing Poulardi and his athletic ability. How important is athleticism overall? You're going to play as kicker. I think about like the early days of soccer-style kickers. I'm thinking of Garo Upremian tried to throw, the ball in the Super Bowl. It seems like it's changed where these guys have played multiple positions in high school and, are overall much more athletic. Is that a fair assessment? And how important is overall athleticism for you?
Yeah, I mean, some are, some aren't. The most important thing is the ball goes to the uprights. That's number one. Then kickoffs are number two. And then probably athleticism and all that's number three. So the guy's putting it through the uprights all the time. You're probably pretty happy with him. If you have a guy that can also be a good kickoff, then whatever that is, whether that's distance, direction, hang time, however you want to define it. But if he's good in that area, then you're probably pretty happy with that too. And anything on top of that's probably a bonus. But, I mean, you don't keep a kicker because he's a good athlete and he can't kick the ball through the uprights. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
You've described your kickers in the past as football players. Adam, Steven. I mean, Nick seems to be one of those guys who fits in well to the fabric of the team. Yeah, how important is that, as specialists, they are fully team members, if you will?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good team dynamic. It hasn't always been the case, but that's the other thing about Steve and Adam was like in the off-season program, they worked out with the other players. It wasn't just a specialist workout kind of thing, which I've been in those where honestly some of those players just weren't capable of doing what our mainstream guys would do. So modify it down to more like what I'm doing. So, but yeah, Nick's training has really put a lot into it since he's been here. I can't speak to what it was or wasn't before, but in talking to him, I think it's definitely more intense than what it was, and he thinks it's helped him. I think it's helped him. I mean, he looks good, and he's produced well, and so. But Adam worked out with everybody. Steve did too. And, those guys have been in the conversation sometimes in the off-season program awards, which is at least representative of competitive off-season training. So punters are, say their athleticism is usually a little more involved than the kickers because they actually have to handle the ball, and there's more, let's say, more involved. The snap, and the kicker doesn't have to handle the ball, so his hands don't have to be an issue. Punter without good hands is problematic, especially around here. Not playing in a dome. And then punter's ability to hold also relates to the hands. Not every punter holds, but if he doesn't, then you better have somebody else that can. That guy plays position, and that could be somewhat problematic too. So I'd say the athleticism of a punter I would put higher on the priority list than athleticism of a kicker. General.
Well, you mentioned late in the summer that you felt the team was as healthy as it's ever been at that point. How healthy is the team now relative to past years as you see it?
Well, you get to the middle of the season, I think nobody's 100% healthy. Everybody's kind of banged up and all that, but we got a lot of guys out there, a couple of guys dealing with things, but overall, not bad.
Bill Murray was elevated from the practice squad a few weeks ago. What kind of progress have you seen from him in the move to offensive line from where he was in training camp to where he is now?
Yeah, good. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to put a full training camp and even regular season together. It's kind of been in spurts, but lately it's been good. And his training's good. I mean, he looks great physically, and of course our practices are cut down now. One padded practice a week and that kind of thing. So the opportunities for those players, developmental O&D linemen, linebackers, tight ends, is just limited. In the line of scrimmage, blocking and pass protection and picking up, all those kind of things. Receivers and DBs can run routes and cover and that. But the development of the bigger guys and the interior part of the line is just limited. So, so Bill does all he can. Like, nobody works harder than that kid, and he's, again, physically looks great, and it's impressive. His training's very impressive. But like a lot of young guys, what they really need are snaps, and so he gets as many as he can. So making progress.
Bill, we've seen, I don't know, maybe the last couple of weeks, the tight ends be used in the backfield a little bit. And I know, sometimes that's like out of the shotgun, so it's not necessarily like a traditional fullback thing by any means, but would you feel comfortable? I know in the past, I think we've heard you say that, sometimes the fullback and the tight end, their blocking roles are similar, even though their alignments are different. Would you feel comfortable using Hunter or Jonnu like in more of a traditional fullback role at times?
They're both pretty versatile players. Yeah, they could probably do that. I think they're tight ends, not fullbacks, but could they line up in the backfield and do some of the things that a fullback normally does? Yeah, I would think so.
Is that like a demeanor thing for a tight end to be? Obviously, there's physical skill set involved too that you need to do to take on that role, but is there something about their approach, their demeanor, that would allow them to do some of that stuff?
Yeah, no, I think their demeanor's fine. It's just, you just see the game from a different point of view, that's all. Instead of being 6 inches away from the guy, you're 5 yards away from him, or it could be a little more, and there's a lot of stuff that's happening in front of you. When you line up 6 inches away from the guy, there's not too much. The guy's outside or he's inside. He might move a little bit when the ball's snapped, but he's not gonna be lined up over the center and end up over the tight end. By the time you get to the line of scrimmage, like a linebacker could flow for a fullback or things like that. There's a different, there's a spatial element to it. It's just a little bit different. There's certainly a lot of physical similarities, I think, when you look at fullbacks and tight ends. Tight ends usually taller, a little longer, usually better in a passing game. Fullbacks usually a little, stockier, more compact type guys. But, there's a little bit of variation in that. But just generally speaking, that's the profile similar. Weights are similar. A lot of times they have similar roles in the kicking game. Play similar positions in the kicking game. I'm saying throughout the course of the league. If you look at a cross-section of those guys throughout the league. Some tight ends play in the backfield, and some fullbacks play on or close to the line of scrimmage. So, yeah.
Bill, I know you're working on the Jets here.
Right, we are. We are.
I'm sure you saw the Bills-Browns game got moved to Detroit because of the weather. I'm wondering, in your experience, have you had any games moved for teams you've coached and due to the weather and specifics, and what memories do you have of those?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, one year we went to Pittsburgh a day early for the playoffs when we, felt like travel on the day before the game was going to be problematic. But Yeah, I'm really not that familiar with it. I don't know. Can't remember the last time I've heard a forecast for 6 feet of snow, but, or whatever it is. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm worried about the Jets.
You gonna wear your shorts out at practice again today? Is it getting too cold for that?
Wasn't bad yesterday. Thick skin.
There you go.
All right, great, thank you. All right, see you Sunday.